like guffaw, that little mess up.
Got Hootenanny.
Yep. So I am excited. One, to have a podcast on the network, and two, a podcast that I have nothing to do with. It's not more work for me, and it just
Yeah, that's
broadens
good.
the horizon. And as we said last week, if anybody's listening who wants to get into the podcast game and has all the equipment and knows what they want to do, but can't figure out the back end, like where to host it, how all that works, send us an email at info@d-410.com. And who knows, maybe, perhaps, just maybe, you might be the second new podcast on the Digital 410 network. So what have you been up to? What's new in your world, friend?
Oh shit. Not much. I do have a Netflix
Okay. You have a
thing that we
Netflix
started.
rewatch?
Yeah, one that we kind of. I didn't think I'd like it. I thought it would be more child oriented.
Okay.
It is more PG-13, and it is actually kind of post apocalyptic. It's called Sweet Tooth.
Go ahead.
I thought I was watching the previews, like, oh, this looks like this is kind of child driven, but it's some minor cussing in that, and it is definitely one thing that I don't like about it is the quote unquote bad guys, the government people have a black and gray American style flag with the 13 stars and a red line through it, like that reminds me of the firefighter flags, right?
Yeah, and it's
But
also kind of like on Black Summer. You know who wrote the shows when the bad guys had all of them were like the plate carrier crew. They all look like what people think the Boogaloo Boys look like off of fucking CNN.
or militiamen or 2A advocates or conservative white guys. But at the end of the day, pushing that garbage aside, I think it's pretty entertaining. It does show what happens if oddly enough, the virus. It's a pandemic. It's an H5G something or other, and they start to get the shaky finger. I don't know if you've seen this at all.
Well, Carrie was watching it, and she was like one or two episodes in, and then I started watching it by proxy. And it wasn't bad, but it was just basically one of those shows that once other shows that we have appointment watching, it slid off our radar. It wasn't good enough for us to binge watch per se. We were like, I don't know, episode 1 or 2 we watched in a row, and then when it got to where they went to the, let's just say, the camp for the video game kids and the panda bear, the furries, if
Right
you will.
where I'm at right now.
When it got to the furry episode, we just kind of, I don't want to say, we just forgot about the show, to be honest with you.
Yeah, so that's where I'm at right now. It was mildly entertaining. It's interesting to compare a show like that with what's actually going on. Obviously, it was produced during the midst of the pandemic. You could tell because there's the 6-foot rule and
not
et cetera, et cetera. But what's interesting is
well,
what
explain
happened to the people that came down with this.
I was going to say, explain to the audience, because you're not giving anything away. They'll see it in the previews. What makes this show different than any post-apocalyptic is when the people who get infected with the disease, their offspring.
I didn't know if it was necessarily the people that got affected, but for some reason, what I picked up on was all of a sudden, all the kids in the world were born as what they call hybrids. Basically, human mixed with some sort of animal.
Yeah, so you might have dog ears.
And these
or
hybrids
nose.
don't get the disease, they don't carry the disease, and they don't spread the disease.
And all of them but one don't talk. According to the show, at least early on, because when they're at the train station, Sweet Tooth is the main kid's name. He's part deer, and he's the only one that talks. And so when they're going through the train station, they disguise him as a kid who's wearing a costume because since he can talk, no one will accuse him of being.
Which I thought was odd, and then all of a sudden there was a bunch of kids wearing animal costumes that ran by, and I was like, oh, okay, maybe this guy that he's traveling with, who was one, maybe he was ousted because he was not a... Anyway, I saw where he came up with the idea. But, all in all, I think it's an interesting one. I think it's a good one if you've got children, so, you don't have to worry too much about the gore, although they do broach some pretty dark subjects.
Yeah.
For a kid, and how they would, in the future, after basically the collapse, they call it did they call it the fall or the collapse? How they dealt with people who ended up with the virus, and that's pretty pretty sketchy, and hopefully we never end up there. But yeah, it was interesting. I just thought it was a mildly not R-rated. It's a little darker than I thought it would be. Just something to watch, and pass the time, because God knows we need some decent entertainment out there. But everything seems to still be falling back towards, the fall of society, which is kind of crazy.
Yep, and speaking of that, I actually have on the list a Roku rewatch. And for those of you who are not familiar with this segment, the Roku rewatch, if you have Roku TV and you go to the Roku channel, that is kind of like their live TV or their cable subscription, if you will. They have TV shows and movies up there. And this is one I watched both seasons of when it originally aired. And I was a fan of it then. And so basically while I'm toiling away downloading updates or copying hard drives, I'm at the shop doing work like today, I'll turn on the Roku TV, and lately I have been watching this.
Tell me about Meridian. We did evil, unspeakable things. We opened a dark door and the devil stepped in.
Are you a gunslinger then?
Just heading out west to look for work on the railroad. This business is not for the weak of heart.
Why should I hire you?
I'm willing to do just about anything.
Make no mistake, blood will be spilled.
You got to let go of the past. If you let it go,
Lives will be lost.
You ever been to Meridian, Mississippi, Mr. Johnson?
I am not proud of what happened to your wife. A nation which nearly destroyed itself by civil war between North and South can only be healed by the binding together of East and West. Making manifest our destiny as a great nation. Mark my words, gentlemen. It will be built.
Originally aired in 2011 on AMC, the show is called Hell on Wheels. It's Carrie used to affectionately refer to it as my choo-choo show. It is about a choo-choo train. The Civil War is in the past, but former Confederate soldier Cullen Bohannon can't put it behind him. Fresh are the horrific memories of the death of his wife, killed by the hands of Union soldiers, an act that sets Bohannon on a course of revenge. This contemporary Western tells the story of his journey, a story that rides on the Union Pacific's construction on the first transcontinental railroad. Bohannon's Western travels take him to the lawless melting pot of a town called Hell on Wheels, which moves with the construction of the railroad. And this was one of these shows where former hip-hop star used to be named Common Sense and then dropped the Sense and went by the name Common. He premiered his acting chops and was a damn good. He does such a good job on the show.
He's a fantastic actor.
So if you want to watch a Choo Choo Train show and see some fictional history, it's definitely good. It's on Roku, both seasons, and it's called Hell on Wheels. If you've never seen it and you like, shows and movies set in a particular era, check it out. And of course, with it being post Civil War and being the fact that it was produced before the woke movement, it may be a show you may not want to watch around your kid because there are some of the time slang words that are used quite often on the show. You know, it was an AMC show. It did originally air in Safe Harbor. So there are some colorful languages and slurs on there that you may not want your children exposed to.
Colorful language, as probably not as colorful as Deadwood. I think that's about as colorful as you get.
Well, obviously they don't have the F-bombs, but they did not steer away from racial slurs on this show. So
hoople heads, square heads.
Yeah. No, those were the Dutch, believe it or not. Hoople
Well,
heads
the
were
square,
the Dutch.
yeah, the square heads were definitely the people from Scandinavian countries.
What's up,
don't
Greg
you know?
Valentine? Checking in, Grove City alumni, checking in on the Facebook live stream. Man, I'll tell you what, for those of you who watch the Pacific and know who E.B. Sledge is, go to WTSP, WorldWar2.com. He's going to come on for another episode, One Henry Sledge, but we spent probably a good 120 minutes talking about how his father's book came to be, talking about how his family got brought into the production of the show and how the show almost never came to be because the movie Flags of Our Father, which came out during the time they were in pre-production, was a box office flop and lost $30 million that Tom Hanks almost pulled the plug on HBO's The Pacific. And it took some persuading to get it back up and running, which we were all happy it was. So if you... Go ahead.
No, finish your thought.
I was just going to say, wrap it up. If you're a fan of the miniseries HBO The Pacific, or you've read With the Old Breed, and you're familiar with who Evie Sledge is, go check out this week's podcast with Henry Sledge.
So speaking of World War II, what was one of the first things that really got you into World War II?
Much like everybody else, the show that die-hard living historians refer to as Bandwagoner Brothers. Obviously, we had some military interest from growing up in Rickenbacker and with our grandfather serving. But right around the time I moved to California and I was living with Dad and going to school, yes, we all were downloading stuff illegally. And before I moved to California, when I was in Ohio, I had HBO and Band of Brothers was on there. And so I started downloading the shows. And then when I lived at Dad's house, I spent all my time in the room if I wasn't at school, at work, or out. And so I didn't have cable TV in my room, so I was just verbatimly watching Band of Brothers. And then someone, before I used to hate reading because I have a learning disability, and reading was always a chore. And I'm laughing because literally if I turn this camera on, there's 30 books here in front of me on a bookshelf, actually more than that.
I'm not laughing because your last name's misspelled.
And I've read 3/4 of them. Yeah, I know. Every time I reset it, every time I start a new episode, it does, and I don't even fuck with it.
That's crazy.
But someone got me a gift certificate to Barnes and Nobles.
What am I going to do with this?
Why you give an idiot? That's exactly. And I was actually flying back from California to Ohio, and I had this gift certificate. And so I walked into, and I'm actually looking at the book now, I walked into the bookstore at the airport, and I saw Brothers in Arms, the memoirs of Wild Bill and Babe Heffron, who were previously covered in the series Band of Brothers, but this book, it goes more into exploits. So I bought the book, I started reading on the airport, and that's when I realized, hey, if I read shit I'm interested in or know about, it's not a chore, it's actually interesting. And so I started buying more and more books. But to answer your question, I've covered this on WTSP. One day I was on eBay for whatever reason, and I was just looking at World War II stuff, and I saw a helmet, an M1 helmet. And I didn't know at the time, it was late war, probably Korean War, but anyhow, I bought it, got it, and my first impression was, damn, this thing's heavy. And it was cool. I showed it to Dad, then I went home and set it on the desk in my computer room. And anytime someone came to our house and came in the computer room, they'd pick it up and they'd say, damn, this thing's heavy. I couldn't imagine wearing this all the time. And then what I discovered is someone who didn't previously have an interest in the history of World War II, now whether it's for 30 seconds or 5 minutes, because of this tangible item they put in their hand, they realized how heavy it was. And it just snowballed from there, and that's how I got into living history, bought uniforms and all that stuff. And then obviously our grandfather's ties to it, which is...
And I remember one of the things we did too that you were really interested in and it's obviously not realistic, but you're really into COD World at War for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that helped spur that fire even more.
A little bit.
And now COD is coming out with a new World War II epic called Vanguard. I'm sure there's probably going to be enough stuff in there that drive you nuts, just like all the battlefields.
Well, I get it. It's 2021. They did woke it.
It woke it up.
Well, let's be fair and let's be honest.
To be fair,
the only African American paratroopers were part of the 555th, the Triple Nickels, which was based off of the idea of the Buffalo Soldiers, and so they used Buffalo Hood Nickels as their logo. They did all the full-blown airborne training, but they actually never went overseas. Instead, they were sent out west to fight fires because Japan was lofting what they called, not barrage balloons, but they were sending weather balloons over here with bombs on the jet stream. And one landed in Blythe, Oregon, and actually killed. The only civilians to die in the mainland United States during World War II was a 19-year-old Sunday school teacher who named Elsie Mitchell. She was pregnant, and her and her husband were on their way to do a Sunday school picnic. The car broke down. Her and the kids got out. They went walking around. Someone found the balloon, touched it. It blew up, killed the kids and her. Never saw the papers because the government covered it up, not to be mean or cruel, but they didn't want Japan to know that their weapon worked. Prior to this, all the other balloons never detonated. One of them got caught up in a power line, but they never reached here. But the whole idea was by Japan is if we can get them to land on the West Coast, burn the nation down, burn up their wood supplies, redirect allocations of resources. And so they sent the 555th to the West Coast to fight fires, and they took their airborne training, and they are the fathers of modern day smoke jumpers. The guys who are fighting fires nowadays by jumping into, that's where it all came from, was the 555th. But back to my whole thing, they woke a fight because you can see in the preview, they got the African American, which I get, it's fine, it's cool, whatever. And then same thing with the infantry. And of course, now the cool thing about the fact that they chose, and when you told me that they're coming out of the World War II games, like, well, hopefully they do Eastern Front, Western Front, North Africa, the stuff that haven't been covered. And
All
they,
the fronts.
and they did. And the cool thing about that, and the realistic thing about that, is Russia did in fact use women, and there were famous women snipers. And so when you see the trailer and you see the women Russian soldiers, that is 100% accurate. They did, because Russia didn't care that everybody's fighting. And so that accuracy is there. But no, I get it. I'm looking past it, and I'm excited to see it. And like we say in Living History World, anything that gets people to spark an interest. Maybe out of the millions of people who play the game, 50 of them will actually start reading books and looking into World War II and seeing what it was really about. So it's definitely a good thing.
When was the last time the Call of Duty franchise did a World War II? Was it World at War?
No, there was Call of Duty World War II. I have it. It was pretty decent. It was another D-Day game. But once again, not to get stuck in the mire, but the uniforms, they were laying on D-Day and P-43s. It didn't come out until 43. Obviously, D-Day was 1942.
You want to watch Don's head explode?
But yeah,
You're about to see it.
The uniforms are wrong and all that. And I played it, but it was rough sledding.
Gotcha.
And it was still it was right around the time where Call of Duty was still coming off their crap, where they had the wall running, where they're trying to be other games, and when everybody really got out of it.
Oh, when they're trying to be Halo?
Yeah, well, Halo mixed with Pacific Rim or whatever that game was called. But anyhow, I digress. But let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
When's the first time you seen a Circle K in real life?
Las Vegas, Nevada.
Because as kids growing up, the first time I ever heard of a Circle K was
Bill and Ted's
Excellent Adventure.
I almost said
Foot-
Bogus Journey.
That
but
was
that's
part
the new
2.
one.
Bogus Journey was part 2. No, Bill and Ted Goes to Hell was part 2. But yeah, it was
Oh, no, I
Troubles
gotta look up what's
Troubles Afoot at the Circle K. And so I never saw, we have them down here, but I was just thinking today, it's weird how certain things like that are regional. Circle K was all over California. It was a plot of the movie. In Ohio, Circle K was just weird to us because we didn't have them back then. We had United Dairy Farmers. No one knows what the fuck United Dairy Farmers is down here.
They got at least my memory reminds
Best chocolate malts.
and vanilla milkshakes.
Mm-hmm.
They pour all that milk in. Hey, news on the allergy front. I was told not to worry about the milk allergy I have. It's very minor. So that's good. I can eat cheese.
For those
again.
you down here, imagine Dairy Queen that sold gas and had convenience store, but had the full ice cream. Not the crappy like you
Imagine
go to
the best
racetrack.
ice cream shop you can have smashed into a convenience store.
Because it started out as a coalition of dairy farmers to try to,
Mm-hmm.
make residual income on the off seasons, and all that. But right before I forgot all about it. Right before I moved to California, I actually got a job there. Went through the training, but never actually started. And they were talking about how the importance of the dairy side of it and the history of it. But yeah, we had a
What
gold
movie
circle.
was,
Martin, no, you didn't. You're lying.
What movie was Matthew Broderick in when he was at Target overnight?
That wasn't that was not Matthew Broderick.
Oh, sorry.
That was Opportunity Knocks. And that
Because I remember seeing that and thinking, what's a Target?
Yep, that was Opportunity Knocks, I think. Opportunity Knocks movie, and he was like the poor man's Matthew Broderick. He had done a few things since
Slightly
then.
retarded Matthew Broderick.
Here we go. Opportunity Knocks. Robert Ebert's. No, that was a Chevy. What was it? That's where he's. I thought it was Opportunity Knocks, but I guess not. He works at Target. The hot chick's there hiding out from the bank robbers. And it's
Yes.
almost like Home Alone and Target, but it came out before Home Alone. What was movie Locked in Target?
Opportunity Knocks cast. Dana Carvey.
No, wasn't Opportunity Knocks. Career Opportunities. That's it. Jennifer Lawrence is in it. Here's the trailer on YouTube. Hold on, let me. Of course, let me mute YouTube so that I can unmute Google Chrome. I used to watch this on HBO. It was actually a pretty good movie, and had one of the robbers, I believe, played he was Dirty Steve in Young Guns, if I remember correctly. Career Opportunities. They're roller skating through a Target at night. Basically, his job was, he was like the janitor. He cleaned up, and she somehow got locked in there, and then two guys come to rob the place. That's not the
So
trailer.
was that Frank Whaley as Jim Dodge?
Probably. Oh yeah. Okay. So they're roller skating and they slam into two guys who basically hid, I think, in a camping area so they can rob the place at night. But yes, that's the first time. Yeah. The guy played Dirty Steve, and the other guy, I don't know who it is. But yeah, he's definitely like a poor man's Matthew Broderick. They just fell into a stack of TDK tape cassettes. That shows the 1990.
91 is what I've got.
No, 91.
Wow, I guess I wasn't that young.
Jennifer Connelly. I can never look at her the same since, what was that movie? Freaking, the heroin movie.
Oh, yeah. One of the ones that will leave you effed up for about 2 weeks.
Yes, Requiem for a Dream.
Yes.
Now you got me. Who was in Job? Other than what was his name? Job Opportunities. Hold on. Job Opportunities. Here we go. Career Opportunities. When a night shift custodian, Frank Whaley, is accidentally locked up alone in the store he cleans. In the store he cleans, he realizes he has access to the entire building and decides to indulge his abundance of free food and merchandise at his fingertips. Surprisingly, he bumps into a local rich girl, played by Jennifer Connelly, who was also imprisoned in the store that night because apparently they locked in. And then they quickly bond, but just as the romantic sparks to fly, Josie and Jim are interrupted by two small town robbers. Dermot Mulroney, who played Dirty Steve in Young Guns, and then another cat that no one would recognize the name. I don't think he's ever done anything ever again. His name, he's got a weird name, Kieran Mulroney, I guess. Well, he was in Nash Bridges, Pursuit of Happiness, Life Among Cannibals. Anything recent?
You think this is one of the last John Hughes movies?
Was that a John Hughes movie?
Yes, it was.
Wow.
Written by John Hughes and produced by John Hughes.
And probably the only John Hughes movie that wasn't filmed in an abandoned high school. Did you know
Instead, it was an abandoned Target.
there's a show on Netflix called, and we talked about in the past, Movies That Made Us, and they're talking about, speaking of Home Alone, all of the indoor house scenes were filmed in the same abandoned high school that Breakfast Club was filmed in.
Speaking of which, Breakfast Club was filmed in a high school, I think in Chicago, near where my wife grew up.
Yeah, and it was the same high school, and they actually, the scene in Home Alone where the basement's flooding was built and shot in the abandoned pool inside the school.
Yes, Maine North High School in Des Plaines, Illinois.
Yep. So a majority of the John Hughes movies.
Oh,
were
it's
shot
also the interior scenes of Hughes' 1986 film, of Don's favorite film of John Hughes, Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
there. Yes, that's, maybe I was wrong about Breakfast Club, but I knew, yes, Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
It's same school. No, same school.
Yep. So, and then I think after all those movies shot, they reopened the school, and now it's a legitimate working school. So, how's that for all that good stuff?
That is
Interesting.
interesting.
I'm so freaking tired.
Ditto.
All the stuff's going on. Are you ready for the news?
Let's do the news.
I feel like we're doing a short episode, but then again, we spent, we had almost two shows in one today.
Superior galactic grandma after eating a block of cheese, smoking 3 packs of cigarettes, and drinking a quart of milk. Disgusting, that's the word.
Yep.
Joining us now from the Digital 410 West News Desk in Las Vegas, Nevada, Gordon Abernathy.
Gordon, this just in, Martin Marzikas claiming that in Grove City we had a Gold Circle. Perhaps we did, sir, but that was years.
Not a Circle K.
Years. Oh, I'm sorry, a Circle K. That was years after Bill and Ted came out. I don't even think we had one prior to 2001. That's when I left Ohio.
No,
Whatever
we had
happened
was
after
Chevron.
2001 and BP. BPs were everywhere.
BPs, it was Shell, BP, and then Chevron. Actually, it was Exxon before BP, I believe.
We had 76ers, Marathon, Chevron, Speedways, United Dairy Farmers, and BP. I think that was our primary ones. And 76ers were pretty much dying out by then, too.
Yeah, and no Golfs either, I don't think.
Down here, we have one or two BPs that are franchises, not even corporate. They're not the fancy ones. Our racetracks are dying out. A lot of the racetracks are turning over. Circle K's, obviously, and then Speedways. But racetracks are popping
What
up all
about
over.
Wawa?
We have one Wawa here in the Cape and then one in Fort Myers. I remember when Wawa came down here, everybody was ecstatic who lived up in the north, who was familiar with the Wawa. Wawa's all right. I mean, they got good meatball subs, but it's definitely no United Dairy Farmers.
See, out here in Vegas, we have Terrible Herps. Yes, you can, all the prices, everything that is true. It's terrible. We have our 7-Elevens, of course.
Well, we have those too.
We have what used to be Don's favorite place to go when he lived in Long Beach, AM/PM.
Well,
Used
one
to
of my
go-
favorite one. We just had one in walking distance of the house. And that's where I'd go
And
to
you
buy
could get
my.
you could get a corn dog for $1.
And and at the time, that's where I'd get my Smirnoff ices. Before I
feel
moved
like
to
I would get
California, early 2000s, I spent a lot of time in Grove City drunk off Smirnoff ice.
That was like the bitch beer next to Zima.
You laugh, but you had a Smirnoff ice sticker on your mountain bike because we would drink
Yes,
them
I
before
did.
we went mountain biking, and we'd pull the labels off and put them on our bike frames.
I sure did. But I have not gotten into the new fad
Of
of
these,
the last couple of weeks. Well, what's before the Truly? What was the big one?
the big one is White Claw. There ain't no laws when
You
you're
got
drinking the
Truly,
Claw.
and then you got Ranch Water, right?
Everybody has one now. Bud Light has them.
Name a company, and they've got them.
The Beats people. Corona. Corona has them. How did I forget Corona? Coronavirus. But no, we have these because Carrie, we were buying these when we were out kayak fishing, and when
Are they
Dave was
better
on,
than White Claw?
yes, when Dave was on the show, we tried White Claw. They were gross. You know they were gross when Dave didn't even take them home. We dumped them all out. They make a Truly in a white can, and the white cans are more like these are seltzer too, but these have more flavor. Whereas the Trulies in the white cans taste like White Claw, and they're not as good. So we buy these. Yes, we had a
basically
Gold
like
Circle.
Drinking a LaCroix with alcohol in it.
So the reason Gold Circle came up is I got put in TikTok jail for a day and a half, and I just got out this morning.
Yeah, that's right. I thought you would bring that up today. Now you have.
It's the second time. Well, this second time I got a video banned for the content. First time getting my PP slapped for 24 hours. There's a sound, if you will. If you know on TikTok, you know what a sound is. It's basically somebody talking. It's a joke. She's like, I heard you've been talking smack, but if you're not careful, I'm gonna come kick your butt because I've been taking Taekwondo classes in the back of Walmart. Blah 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 blah. And so there's a TikTok where guys doing it on an old school hand receiver. Well, I have my field phone, and so I do edit him, and he's lip syncing it, and I'm just simply there because he's talking about kicking my ass because allegedly I've been talking shit. At least that's the gist of the bit sound. So I'm just there affixing my bayonet on the end of my M1, and I just smile at the camera, don't say a word, and then in the text it says, I'll meet you at the Payless Shoes next to the Gold Circle. Both places being out of business. Clearly it's a joke. The video is up for a minute and 30 seconds before I went to post my video about the crustless cheesecake, which I don't know why is a thing. If you know, maybe tell me. And when I went to post that video, it said, you are banned. It didn't tell me. Basically, I was banned for 24 hours for waving a bayonet around the TikTok, heaven forbid. Why? What's the purpose of a crustless New York style cheesecake?
I don't know. It seems like that basically you're eating cold pudding.
Pretty much. Every once in a while, we get a hankering for cheesecake. Now, Carrie and I have both made a decree. We went down the Adam Carolla roll, which he's now switched back on. But I made a decree because in our extended family, including Carrie's, summertime is birthday heavy. Like, just this Friday, there was a birthday we couldn't make because Carrie wasn't feeling good. But through the summer, it's like at least once a month, we're going to someone's house and we're having pizza and cake. pizza and cake. So by the time my birthday rolls around in June and Carrie's rolls around in August and Nuggets rolls around in July, we are just caked out. And so I made the decree, no more cakes. I want pie. And then I changed that to cheesecake, and Carrie changed it to cheesecake. And so we like a good cheesecake.
'Cause that's a happy medium between pie and cake.
Yeah, well, and it's just damn good. Who doesn't like a cheesecake? But anyhow, the last 2 times I went to Publix to get a cheesecake, they only had Green Wise cheesecake, which is organic, and it just does not taste right. They're small and they're gross. And so Sunday night, 9:30 at night, Publix closed at 10, or maybe it's Saturday. Publix closes at 10. Yeah, because today's Monday. See, my days are off because I did a podcast last night. So Saturday night at 9:30, I was sent to Publix 20 minutes before close to get a cheesecake because, damn it, we want a cheesecake. Under the express instructions, not if they only have Green Wise, don't get a cheesecake, get ice cream instead. Good enough.
Got my marching orders.
Went back there, and I'm seeing Green Wise cheesecake, and I said to the lady, hey, you ain't cheesecake New York styles that aren't Green Wise?
This shit right here.
And she's like, well, I have these. Now, I'm looking at it, and I don't see the nice, beautiful, crumbly crust end cap, right? The cheese goes down the bottom, but I just assume, well, the crust is underneath. Maybe the cheese ran down over the crust, whatever. I never made cheesecake. I don't know how you were prepared. So I buy said cheesecake and come home, and like you said, it's basically pudding. There is no crust. There's no beautiful brown crust. It's just a of cheesecake content on a tray, and you can't even cut it in pieces.
Sorry, there's a raw material shortage on cheesecake crust ingredients.
You might as well eat the damn thing. Put it this way, the thing's been in there since Saturday, and there's still half a cheesecake left. If that tells you anything.
So if you get sneaky, you could go get some graham crackers and crumble those sons of bitches up.
I might have some from the camper, but they're probably stale. But I don't understand. It's almost like this was meant to be a 2-tiered cheesecake cake, and this was supposed to be on top, where you'd put the wedding guy, and they just put it on a platter and put it in the damn freezer. I don't understand. So if any cheesecake aficionados out there want to explain to us, whether through chat or you can email us at info@d-410.com, please inform me of what the purpose of a crustless cheesecake is, because it was a fucking fiasco.
So
Good thing I bought both. I bought the cheesecake and the ice cream.
So you know about the Appalachian Trail?
Yep.
The AP, as it's known.
A friend of mine hiked the majority of it with his 2 ferrets.
So did a 5-year-old boy recently.
With his ferrets?
No, but he did have an abundance of imagination and Skittles to help him out.
Now, does that at all lower the achievement of the adults who have tried this?
Especially the ones who failed.
Yeah.
Harvey Sutton, or also known as Little Man, and this is coming in from the AP or something, he is known on the AP or the Appalachian Trail, won't have a whole lot of time to bask in the glory of hiking its full length because he starts kindergarten on Friday.
Son of bitches.
That 5
Our
years
kid's
of
down here,
fucking overachiever.
Our kid's been in school for 3 weeks down here already, believe that.
I bet he's not fat. Maybe I need to learn from him. At 5 years old, Harvey is one of the youngest and the latest of several youngsters in recent years to complete the trail after tagging along with his parents for over more than 2,100 miles in 209 days. Speaking of which, isn't there somebody we're supposed to keep up with?
Yeah, I need to, I think he's been dealing with some health issues because he'll go offline for a little bit, but he'll stay there. But basically, he basically hunkers down for a few days. Last time I heard, he was in Tennessee, but I haven't seen a TikTok from him in quite some time. I'll have to look.
Well, as we know, it was hard work, but he did have fun looking at frogs, lizards, and other wildlife. And so was sprinkling Skittles on the peanut butter tortillas as fuel for the walk. Wow, that sounds like a lot of sugars and carbs. But when you're 5, that makes sense. So he had a good time with rock scrambling, and they were not bored. He said cheerfully on the phone interview from Virginia. He also lives with his parents. This is one Josh and Cassie Sutton. His parents were so busy keeping him engaged and entertained that it distracted them also from the physical pain of trudging along so many miles. Which I'm wondering, sounds like he may not have been a kid that said, "Are we there yet?" Mm-hmm. Like Papa Smurf. Almost, no. it gave us a bond and strength that we hadn't realized before, according to Cassie Sutton. Other youngsters have hiked the 2,193-mile trail that starts in Springer Mountain, Georgia, and ends up atop Maine's Mount Catathan. I can't even say that right. And some babies have even been carried on their backpacks by determined parents. But Harvey was 4 years old when him and his parents began walking this in January and turned 5 before they completed the journey last week in Maine. So congratulations, man. That is awesome.
I just sent David Post a message on TikTok asking, are you good? His last post was a month and 4 days ago. So July 19th was the last time he posted, and he was in Tennessee. So I don't know what's going on.
Hopefully
unless-
all is well with you, David.
Yeah, so I just sent him a message. We'll see if he replies back. I don't know what's going on. Hopefully all is well. But that's a little concerning that it's been over a month. You figure if something happened, he had to go home, he would post a video saying, hey, family emergency or something came up, I had to go home. But
So if anybody hears from him,
yeah,
who follows him, let us know, man.
Yep. He started out in, was it New York? Damn
Yeah,
near-
New York, on the East Coast.
East Coast, he was walking to California.
Ohio.
He's in he made it to Tennessee.
Went through Kentucky, didn't he?
Yeah, he made it. He went through Warsaw, believe it or not. So I'm damn near it.
Hopefully there's no banjos playing. What did SpongeBob live in?
A pineapple under the sea, who's yellow and porous and absorbent as he.
So I looked at this picture. I didn't send it to you. I didn't have enough time. But a research vessel found a SpongeBob look-alike a mile under the ocean's surface. Ocean expedition exploring more than a mile under the surface of the Atlantic captured a slightly startling yet silly sight this week. A sponge that looked very much like SpongeBob SquarePants. And right next to it, a pink star.
Aww.
A doppelganger
Patrick.
for Patrick, SpongeBob's dim-witted best friend. So Christopher Ma was one of the scientists watching a live feed from the submersible launched off of the NOAA ship Okeanos Explorer. He is a research associate at the National Museum of Natural History.
That's hilarious. I'm looking at the photo. Yep, it's a square yellow sponge and a pink star.
Who frequently collaborates with NOAA, and he's also an expert on starfish. I immediately noticed an underwater creature's resemblance to their animated pals. They are just a dead ringer for the cartoon characters, according to Ma.
Mm-hmm.
He also tweeted an image of the two, noting the resemblance, delighting a lot of folks.
If you guys scroll
Some
up,
people do what they do, and they added faces and legs.
if you guys scroll up on Facebook, I just posted a link to, and you'll just see the thumbnail, so you don't have to stop watching the video. But yeah, I just posted the
But
video.
the problem is, sponges and sea stars are not really friendly with each other. So rather than chilling out under the sea, Ma suspect a different reason for the creature's closeness is that, well,
One of them's about to die.
sea stars like to feed on sponges.
Aw.
Sponges don't have mouths, right? In all likelihood, the reason the starfish is right next to the sponge is because the sponge is, well, it's about to be devoured. Or at least in part, according to...
And I'm sure if you look hard enough, you'll find Gary in there too.
Or maybe not. The sponge might be bright yellow because of its chemical defenses, according to Ma.
Mm-hmm.
Either way, he said the reality is it's a little crueler than perhaps the cartoon would suggest.
Little Nemo, Finding Nemo. Clownfish are very aggressive and territorial.
So the scientific name for that sponge is a Hertwiggia. And the starfish is a Chandraster. And he says that the starfish spotted by the expedition was probably a species called Chandraster grandis. The pink starfish was likely the inspiration for Mr. Patrick. The real-life sponge is as yellow as the Nickelodeon character. SpongeBob's shape is far from what's found in nature. Although it looked pretty square to me.
Did you hear the hypothesis? There's a pretty cool TikTok page where people talk about movies and conspiracies or ideas about movies. One of them being The Breakfast Club.
Yes.
You ever wonder why they never got caught doing all the crazy shit they're doing? Well, these people's theory are none of those
Parallel universe.
No, none of those characters were there. It was the weirdo, the one who's hiding her hair and eating the ice cream with the pixie sticks. She was
The one that
imagining.
did the with her hair and
Yeah,
let it
she was
smell on her arm.
imagining the whole thing. She was basically daydreaming. That's why she ended up with Emilio Estevez at the end. She ended up with the jock. But another one, an interesting
But
one.
Cincinnati has last laugh. They're the ones who ended up with Emilio Estevez.
Absolutely.
Which is great.
There is a conspiracy idea surrounding Finding Nemo. Apparently,
I don't know if I got a tinfoil hat.
Nemo is Latin for nobody.
Finding nobody.
And according to these people, and there's a TikTok on it, they can explain it a whole lot better than I am. Nemo and the wife were both dead instead of just the wife. And that his dad was chasing a ghost, which is why the only person who set out on this mission to find this non-existing person is Dory, who has no memory. And so basically they have this whole thing talking about the reason, Nemo was basically dead, died with the mom too, and the father was chasing nobody, finding nobody. And once again, the reason that's how Dory got involved, because she had no memory. And so she always...
Well, I could see that, even though it's probably not the truth. I could kind of see it because if you look back at history and old nursery rhymes, there was always a dark slant. Always.
Yep.
So we were talking about catching alligators earlier, right?
Yes, sir.
Apparently, there's an alligator attack reported at Waxahachie Park in Fort Myers.
Yeah, hold on real quick. I'm just reading a thing on here. It's a Reddit user. Due to the extremely tragic event, this theory asserts that Nemo's dad, Marlin, then went through the 5 stages of grief, which Reddit users explain. The movie's an analogy, whatever, for the father's journey through the stages of grief. Denial. He won't let his son go to school because he is not safe. Anger. He scolds his son for venturing out of his control. Bargaining. He puts up with his amnesic travel, his travel buddy to help him find his son. The word for losing memory. Amnesiac. Despair. He sees his son flushed down the drain.
Amnesia.
Amnesiac. And
Amnesiac.
acceptance. He learns to let go and then let things be the way they were. And so yeah, there's a whole fandom thing talking about how Nemo was dead the entire time.
Of course, it comes from Reddit, and that place is a whole rabbit hole upon itself.
I can never get into Reddit just because I never liked the format. It always drove me crazy. The format of the website itself was enough to make me never go on the damn thing.
Well, an angler at the Waxahachie Park in Fort Myers was wandering by, called for help after finding a man who was bit by an alligator Monday. According to the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission official. The man suffered serious injuries and was taken to Lee Memorial Hospital. FWC officers were investigating at 4 p.m. attack at the Bass Road Park located adjacent to Summerlin Road late Monday afternoon. The Waxahachie Center offers a dog park, recreation and fitness center, so you may want to be careful taking Bailey there, and picnic shelters, along with other related amenities. This is a 50-acre site which opened in 2005 and has a creek, or some of our southern brethren say creek, and several ponds on the property. Senior official from FWC, Adam Brown, who is the public information officer, said the injured man was 60, had suffered bites and related injuries to his left shoulder, left arm, and torso. That sounds like that fucker was getting close to his head. The rescuer found the victim wandering about a mile down Powerline grade path behind Lexington Middle School. A guy fishing saw him. According to Brown, he rendered aid and called for emergency help. The FWC contracted nuisance alligator trapper who was on the scene, David Grobe of Fort Myers, out walking a rescue laboratory lab. Isaac around one of the parks and ponds said he wasn't really concerned. I've been coming here for years, according to Grove. I usually see them. talking about the alligators. He said that he's never had any problems with these reptiles. You just gotta keep away from them.
Gotta keep. FWC says serious injuries can be caused by. Oh, I'm sorry, that's not what I wanted. Here's an interesting thing. Once the alligator is caught, it becomes property of the trapper. The gators are sometimes taken to live on a gator farm, or they can be harvested.
Turned in the boots.
Mm-hmm.
So that is my short news for the evening.
Short news for the evening.
This concludes the evening news, and now back to the ACT Computer Studio in Cape Coral, Florida.
What's up, Mike Brumley? What's up, Mom? What's up, Katina? What's up, Martin Marzika, and everybody else? That is going to wrap it up for this episode of the What's in Your Head podcast. Thank you guys so much. Be sure to check back and head over to d-410.com as we announce the launch of the Tackle Your Best fishing podcast that I will have nothing to do with, so don't worry about it. It's not me just trying to shove more me down your throat. It's just me helping people start their own podcast, expanding the network. And like I said, I listened to the first episode and I actually learned quite a bit. So they were definitely insightful, entertaining. And so go to d-410.com at the first of the month for more information on that. And as always, this episode of the What's in Your Head podcast is brought to you by our friends at Computers. At Computers has been providing IT solutions for all of Southwest Florida since 2004. And even if you don't live in Southwest Florida, they can help you. So give them a call at 239-283-1120 or head over to their website at act-capecoral.com. And as long as your internet works, they can assist you by remote login via their website. And if you do live here in Southwest Florida, please give them a call at 239-283-1120. They can help you out with computer repair, laptop repair, Wi-Fi expansion, smart TV setups, basically anything technical related. They can assist you. They can also help you with getting set up with online backups, virus protection, and the like. So for Gordon, myself, Mike, and Ron from the new Tackle Your Best podcast, this is the What's in Your Head podcast, and we will talk to you all next Monday, like always. And this is called me stretching until I find the button that sounds like this.
This has been a Digital